This is One-on-One. Paula Payton is the Director of Strategic Communication, Marketing, and Media Management Programs, New York University School of Continuing and Professional Studies. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Good, good. Now explain what that means.
Well, that means that NYU has been fairly forward-thinking in terms of the changes in media. We have recently reorganized to take two great programs, one in PR and corporate communication, of which we're very happy you're part of, marketing, and also graphic communication, and we've pulled them into one banner department, which is called, as you said, Strategic Communication, Marketing, and Media Management. The reason we've done that is primarily to help our students leverage what we see as equities between those three fields. There's no reason today why a student that wants to have a degree in corporate communication and PR should know a little bit more about branding, should know a little bit more about visual identity. And likewise, a student who's into visual identity should know about crisis communication or branding as well.
And it's absolutely true. And in fact, Paula mentioned it. Full disclosure, I actually teach in the program, co-teach with Luca Pozzi, who's a fabulous professor there, and I've been there for the last few years. And I've learned an awful lot, not just about NYU, but more importantly about the student body there, which is great. And you've added this other component.
Yes.
But what's really interesting to me, and I know will be interesting to the people watching on public television, this program has a student body that is so incredibly diverse, and the globalization of the program is important to talk about it. Go ahead.
It's phenomenal. We now have, collectively, between those three programs, we have about 1,000 students. We've been growing about 30 to 40% each year. Our growth has come from markets like India, like China, but we also draw from the tri-state area. We draw pretty heavily from New Jersey and also New York. What makes our program special is because New York is the mecca of media. Students come from all four corners of the earth to learn from best-in-class professors. Our professors come from corporate communications.
The practitioners.
Yes, they are practitioners.
Why is that so important? As opposed to
critical.
No disrespect to those who are doing their research, which is very important. Why is this program at NYU work so hard to bring in folks who actually do it?
So our students can benefit from not only knowing the strategy, but also tactics. So when they get that job, they can hit the ground running. Our practitioners by day, they're running businesses, either entrepreneurial startups or they're working at Fortune 50 companies. And so they take the practices that they've learned and they teach our students, so our students are immediately actionable on their new jobs. So.
But there's another part to that. One of the things I've always respected about the program is that you're very tied as an academic institution to corporations. Those partnerships are important. Talk about them.
Yes. We work very closely with a number of different companies from an internship standpoint, but also from a recruiting standpoint. Our company partners look to NYU to provide them with students who have sort of the latest thinking, the latest tactics. We work with just a range of companies from all around the world.
Interesting. People think about, the course we teach is about branding and crisis communication.
Yes.
People think, there's a course in that?
Yes.
PR, there's a course in that? There's a body of knowledge. There's a science to this. Talk about that.
Yes.
And not everyone, NYU was ahead of a lot of other places who were like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Right. Thankfully, PR is both art and science. And so it takes both strategy, tactics. It takes the idea of taking a message and crafting it and then delivering it in good times and in more challenging times, like in crisis. And we have, over the last few years, since 2005, we sort of worked on refining the discipline. My predecessor, John Dorley, a number of the other instructors in the program, like Luca Pozzi, worked very hard to sort of impart and refine the science and the art of PR for our students.
Your background. Talk about it as you come into this position.
So I cut my teeth as a cognitive psychologist, which means I'm very insights-driven. I spent my...
Insights-driven?
Insights-driven,
Translate
yes.
that.
The future really belongs to the person who understands the consumer from the best standpoint, and many companies, as you know, are reorganizing around the customer, the consumer. My specialty is understanding how consumers behave and what motivates them to behave in different ways, and that's useful if you're a brand or if you're a corporation.
For instance?
So for instance, one of the areas that I've worked in is visual perception. We know in different sort of environments that consumers will pay attention more to this and to less of that. And that's very relevant when you're trying to put together sort of a branding message. We can.
Well, hold on. So interesting. From a branding point of view, I'm very caught up. My academic and practical orientation is about, I'll often say, you know, in the last book I wrote called You Are the Brand, said, you know, if a CEO is the head of the company, he or she is the brand of that company. So if they're screwing up, I don't care how good your marketing campaign is, your brand's in trouble because he or she is the brand. You're also saying that part of the brand has to do with the visual representation of that company's products in the marketplace. Am I making it too?
No, you're
So Coca-Cola,
exactly right.
the
iconic bottle and the
something
brand,
to
yes.
that, or am I
Yes.
making?
No,
There's
you're
something
right.
to that.
Yes, you're exactly right. One of the things that's often overlooked when we think about visual processing is brands exist in context, much like companies exist in marketplaces and in environments. So when we study how consumers interact with brands, it's best to understand the ecosystem in which they exist in. So if I'm going to make a bottle of Coke stand out from a shelf, I better well understand what else is on the shelf with me. And what else is sort of in the digital environment, because there's a lot of noise and clutter. And as a good ambassador of the brand, you really have to understand how to separate your brand signal from all the rest of the brand noise.
And it's so interesting. People who say, I don't have to be involved in that because in my industry that's not important, it's delusional. Because even in public television, I mean, the WNET, we're here at the WNET, the Tisch WNET studio, we have to stand out. It's not just that your logo has to stand out, your programming has to stand out, the people on the air have to stand out. That brand is a product of a lot of factors. Know it?
Absolutely.
And people who think that's not me, they're wrong.
That's exactly right.
Including NYU. There's a whole brand there. Talk about that brand.
Yes, absolutely. We are in the process of taking some of our educational programs and we're rolling them out overseas. And what continues to surprise and delight us is just how strong the NYU brand is in every market. We never have to explain what NYU is in any point of the world when we're talking about our programs. No, NYU is extremely understood and well known. It doesn't matter how far abroad you go or where you go. It's quite strong.
People know it.
People know it.
Paula Payton, Director of the Strategic Communication, Marketing, and Media Management Programs at NYU, School of Continuing Professional Studies. I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Steve.
Good stuff.
Thanks.
We'll be back from the Tisch WNET studios right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. Funding has been provided by Barnabas Health, Berkeley College, the law firm of Gibbons PC, United Water, Wells Fargo, Verizon Communications, and by New Jersey Natural Gas. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been made possible in part by the Adler Aphasia Center.